Hi guys, Harry Yotis here, professional trader for 20 years now. Started my career in 2005 and still alive in 2026. So let's say goodbye to February. This is the last day chart of the S&P 500. This green candle, although it's green because we gapped down open and then went up. February the 27th, last day. And we did this because of more fear in the market. That seems to be the theme of this choppiness going, all the way back 2, 3, 4 months. Everything has been thrown at this market, everything but the kitchen sink in terms of fear. Okay, any geopolitical event, any macro and whatever, boom. And the market is still resilient. Okay, we'll get to that later. First, let's talk about the technicals. Choppiness. Remember yesterday we say we're going to reserve our bullishness, even though it closed above the 50 because of the choppy pattern. We can go up and down, up 50, below the 50, above the 50, below. So we're going to stop going nuts, by looking at the 50-day moving average and every moving average and just looking at the simplicity of the chart. Okay, this is what I like to see. So clearly we're in a sideways pattern. We are going to reserve our bullishness when we break above new highs. Okay, so now the technicals are neutral, choppy, sideways action, neutral. Okay, the sentiment, fear and greed index, back to fear. We're on the border. It's a mix. Momentum is still at extreme fear, but there's underlying strength and breadth in the market that is expanding, yet people are still buying a lot of puts as the market goes down. Okay, and we still have elevated volatility, as we can see here from the VIX. We're still relatively around the 20 level. That's a lot. We're staying around the 20 for a long time. This is it mirrors the choppiness of the market. Okay, that's all it does, and with high volatility, which means that people are trying to protect themselves from a possible downside because of all the fear and all of these geopolitical events that are happening. It's understandable, but the fact that this market is holding up despite all that is a very positive sign. So the sentiment, though, is fearful, but plenty of room to go to much higher levels, okay? Because people in this choppy market are not bullish. Quite the opposite. Usually when the market chops around at highs, they're bullish, people buy a lot of calls, and then it's vulnerable for a downside. This is why I remain bullish long-term, because most of the data that we see, fundamentally speaking, is bullish, and the technicals and the market action is bullish to me. We saw some fundamentals, some technical intraday action where every time there's a hit, people step up to buy. Okay, so even though the sentiment is bullish because there's plenty of room to go higher, the technicals are neutral, and what brought the fear today is what we'll get into right now, which is the macro. We had an inflation print, the PPI, coming in hotter than expected, and that's more fear, added more fear into the market. Okay, so let's go to Trading Economics here. I love this site. We're looking here at the United States producer price inflation, which is like what producers pay for their goods, 0.5%. Okay, that's a big number. Okay, if you go back, let's say 10 years, you can see that it's relatively elevated. It's not as high as it was in 21, but it's pretty high. One print. Okay. We've had this before. If you go back 1 year, look, we've had prints here, 0.8 before going down. We had 0.6 before going down. So this print, though, it's pretty high, but we don't know where it goes going forward. Okay, and it was summarized nicely by Zero Hedge here, where it says surging services is what caused the spike in producer prices. Okay, here under the hood, we see a surge in services costs, not tariff related, is what dominated the rise in PPI. Okay, so the PPI is 0.5%, okay, but if you look at the core PPI, okay, 0.8%, much higher. So the core shows you that inflation was very, very high. And remember, core strips away food and energy. So this does not include energy. Whereas what we had before, the PPI, this does include energy. So the fact that it's lower means that energy was down over the previous month. Okay, so energy is down. It's basically a services inflation type move. Okay, it's not tariff related and it's not oil related. So this is, I guess, good news because the services, could go down. We don't know. But it is worrisome. The core PPI has to be monitored because this 0.8 is a big print. If you look at the 10 years going back, it's going back to these pandemic type levels. Okay, for 1 month, that's pretty big for services. Okay, so we have to keep an eye on that. So this inflation print, PPI for producers, is hot. We have to keep an eye out on that in case it gets passed down to people, to consumers. So the macro here, this is the first macro where the inflation is up. Okay, we have to keep it monitored. Remember, it's just 1 month. Okay, so let's go back. That macro added to the fear. Okay, and it hit this market, but then it get bought back. Okay, just like it did with the war. Everything is hitting this market. This is what I want to get to with. There's more fear, and yet I still see resilience in this market. We had the World War III coming up with Iran. Boom, it got hit, bought back. We had the tariffs that SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, told Trump, nope, you can't put them up. Down, then back up again. What else did we have? Inflation, war, everything. And yet market is still basically, 1-2% from highs? Okay, this shows resilience. So everything is being thrown at this market, and it's being bought back. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I just see, my years of experience, I see a lot of underlying strength in this market. It wants to go up, but it keeps getting hit with some kind of macro data to bring it down. And then it goes up again. It wants to, please let me go. And then boom, something else happens. And everybody right now is still afraid of the war that's going to happen with Iran over the weekend. Everybody's saying bad news. Everybody's trying to saying that they're evicting they're getting rid of their embassies, the staff at the embassy in Israel. Everybody's warning people in Iran to leave. Whatever kind of fear you have in there, it's affecting these markets, okay? So the one trade that is doing very, very well here, okay, is gold and silver, okay? We have gold and silver going up on uncertainty today. Barely a pullback. These 2 days was garbage. Still kept the upward trend going, and it looks like it's very, very strong. Gold especially, and silver, okay? We had silver here ripping higher. Okay, this was the last day of February. Okay, so this is the last day of the Chinese Lunar New Year vacation. It's over. They're gonna come in on Monday, and they're gonna probably start buying. Okay, because for this whole time they weren't buying. This action on silver is up during the vacation time of the Chinese. Imagine when the Chinese come in and start buying themselves. Okay, so we can see silver really go to the highs and more. Okay, we missed a couple of silver trades, but it's okay. What did we have here? I want to show you guys the silver, the Comex silver delivery intentions. Okay, so this is of note. The Comex silver delivery intentions breakdown for February 27th. Okay, this was for February. The intent date was for February 26th, but it's going to be delivered on the first day of March. Okay, this is for the March contract. This is the first day that you can ask for delivery, is in Thursday and Friday. So right now, for the first day of March, look at mini contracts. Okay, that's simple. That's simply a lot. Okay, if you look even lower, for the entire month of February, it was 5,000 contracts, which is huge. Okay, and I suspect these contracts were Eastern buyers because it was heavily weighted for the first 2 weeks, and the last 2 weeks of February there was nothing. The last 2 weeks of February they were on vacation for the Lunar New Year. So it seems like the Chinese are East. I say Chinese as a proxy for the East. I don't mean to sound racist, but it is China buying. So Chinese are probably buying this. Foreigners are buying it and asking for delivery. 5,000 contracts is a lot for February. Okay, but this is March. This is supposed to be a delivery month. Okay, 4,500 contracts. That's about, you have to do 4,500 and 40 contracts times 5,000 because there's 5,000 ounces of silver in each contract. That's 22.7 million ounces. 22.7 million ounces being asked. There is 100 million ounces left in the deliverable Comex vaults. Okay, now that doesn't mean that these silver ounces will leave the vault. Okay, they could just stay in there. They just change ownership. This is what all this means. Delivery intention is just a change of ownership, and it could still stay within the Comex vaults. Okay, historically that is what has happened. Every March there's a huge delivery, and the Comex contracts change hands, but they basically almost all of them, less than 1%, actually leave the Comex and get delivered to the actual client. Here the client takes possession but keeps it in the Comex vaults. Okay, just a change of ownership. Like look here, JP Morgan sold, it bought 7, so it sold like about a net 1,000 contracts. Scotia sold 1,000 contracts. HSBC sold 86. So these are leaving the vaults. These are leaving the vaults of Deutsche Bank 400 contracts. These are leaving the vaults issued. They're issuing a notice to deliver, okay, into the inventory. So these guys are the buyers. The stopped are the buyers. The issued are the deliverers, the sellers. So this is the metal that is leaving these guys' respective vaults, and these are the guys picking it up, okay? Citigroup is picking up the most, followed by both Bank of America securities, okay? So you have JP Morgan net, because it also is taking 700 of that. So it's net of 1,000, leaving the JP Morgan vaults, or JP Morgan is going to deliver those. Scotia is going to deliver another 1,000, HSBC, etc., etc. So altogether 45. Now, we have to know how many of those are going to stay in the Comex. That's the key, because if they're all leaving, the Comex is in trouble. Okay, so this is like shows huge intent of physical delivery. This is probably why this went up, why silver went up a lot today. And I expected this kind of bid to come in when the Chinese come back from their Lunar New Year vacation. Okay, so let's go into the last play of the day. A trade idea, Palantir. I like Palantir here. We know that Palantir is a storied stock. It's very profitable, like 35% net income margin, which is huge. It has a lot of cash, has no debt, it's printing money. And yet everybody hates it. Everybody wants to short it because it's quote unquote overvalued. Okay, as traders, let me give you a little secret. Okay, when we're trading and your time horizon, which is my time horizon, is between, let's say, 1 to 3 months forward, we look a quarter ahead. We don't look 1 day ahead or 1 week. We look a quarter ahead, up to a quarter. It could be 1 to 3 months, let's say. We don't really care about overvalued or undervalued. We don't care. We actually seek companies that are quote unquote overvalued, high PE ratios. Okay, and that's because the market is telling you that a lot of money is flowing into these companies, including Palantir. Palantir is one of them. They have the highest PE ratio, one of the highest. I think it's a 75 PE for forward PE. Trailing PE is like 200. So this is overvalued. Everybody thinks overvalued. It has to go down. Nope. It doesn't have to. Okay. In fact, the market, it just shows you that the market likes it. Okay. And overvalued, undervalued means nothing for the next month to 3 months. Okay. And look, it hit a couple of times. It might not get there again, but it hit this support level, long-term support, which I like. It has the fundamentals on its side. The fundamentals meaning forget valuation. I'm talking about fundamentals, like this company is printing money, 35% net income margin. That's huge. Okay, very little debt, huge cash reserves, huge liquidity. It has like a 7, let's go to this site here, Palantir. This is FinViz. You guys should take it. It's good. So this is Palantir. Okay, you can see the basic breakdown of this. You can go deeper into it, but look, profit margin is 36%. This is huge. 82% gross margin. Okay, look at this. Quick ratio, that means it could cover its short-term debt with cash. Okay, current ratio covers its short-term debt with cash, 7 to 1. Almost no debt. Okay, basically nothing. This is the big, like 200 PE ratio and a forward PE of 74. This is huge. Okay, so this is what's getting people upset. Don't. This should be a signal to a trader that you should be buying the stock. The market likes it. Okay, so forget all this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, especially when it's over valuation. If you can't give me another reason of why this should go down, I'm not going to listen. Okay, so Palantir is good. I'm trying to enter it with an option structure. I'm not there yet. I hope it goes back down again next week so I can pick it up. Okay, I'll keep you guys informed. But for me, this is an A trade, an A plus trade to enter long. Okay, according to my criteria. So let's recap. SPY, neutral, a lot of fear. This market keeps getting hit and it's resilient. Every piece of bad news, war, tariffs, whatever, and it's being bought up. Okay, choppiness, we have to accept the fact that it's choppy, but I can see the underlying resistance. We have the fear and greed index at fear, plenty of room to go higher. You know how I feel, and the more fear was because of the PPI came in very high. This is core PPI at 0.8, and normal PPI was at 0.5%. It's hot. You have to admit it. Okay. So there is one bad news coming out of our macro. And of course, the Chinese New Year gold and silver. Gold ripping to highs, keep what you have. Silver ripping again, Chinese New Year coming back. We have the delivery intentions, right? We saw that before. Already 22.7 million ounces asking for delivery. The Comex has 100 million ounces that are eligible to be delivered. Okay, in one day, it's about 22%, maybe a bit higher, of the available silver that it has in the account. Doesn't mean it's going to leave their inventory. Okay, it could just change ownership and stay in Comex. It remains to be seen whether it leaves. If it leaves, the Comex is in trouble. If it doesn't, no problem. The Comex survives. Okay, and Palantir as a trade idea that I'm looking to get into. I haven't got into it yet, so you guys could do whatever you like with it. But for me, this is an A+ trade. Fundamentals super strong in the stock. Don't care at all about the high PE and the quote-unquote overvaluation. Okay, it's actually a good sign for short-term trading. Short-term for me is 1 month to 3 months, like up to a quarter, not 1 day or intraday. None of that. That's noise. Okay, so for me, if you can take the May contract, would be nice because you get the earnings in there as well, which is what I'm looking for. I still haven't entered it. I'm looking to enter it with an option structure, which I'll get into later. So guys, like and subscribe if you like what you heard. Drop me a line on the comments. I will get to it as soon as possible. And that's it. New month coming up, March. Let's see what happens.